That would have been an epic cast and an epic TV series. You're right. That would have been a great TV series.
What about you, Jay? What was your needful thing?
Don't you say what he's done to us?
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie. We watched it. We watched a movie. Yeah. You know what? We did a review. We watched a movie.
Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch a Movie. I'm Mike and he's Jay, and we're reviewing Needful Things. You can't see it because of my big ass head and my TV won't move over any further.
Move over just a second. You see that? That's Ed Harris. He should have been Captain America if he was younger. Look at that big old shotgun. Where you going with that shotgun?
Milk Money.
Tombstone.
The Rock. So yeah, Needful Things. It's another Stephen King adaptation. Stephen King week here on We Watched a Movie. We're doing our Halloween horror month. Stephen King week all week long. Tomorrow there will be another Stephen King one. Yesterday we did It.
The king of shit.
But
No, he's king of. I mean, when I say shit, I mean the shit.
the shitty
The
of the shit.
Like when you're saying fat, like PH. Do people use that anymore? Fat.
So, in Needful Things, this new guy moves to this town in Maine, just like all Stephen King's movies are all based in Maine. This new guy moves to town, he opens a store called Needful Things, and he's creepy, nobody really knows what to deal with him, and every time people go to a store, and he's got this one thing that they've craved their entire life, this one thing that they need, and he asks for a small favor in return, and what it is he's coagulating the whole town to go against each other in this big, epic, evil plan that he has, and we won't give any more away because it might be a spoiler, but he's an evil motherfucker. And the whole town has to fight it. Ed Harris is the sheriff, and he's the one that knows what's up. He's got the skivvy down, and he's going to stop it from happening.
Yeah, this movie had a great cast around it. J.T. Walsh was the bad guy. Buster Danforth was the councilman of the town. He ran a car lot. Ed Harris, like you mentioned, the sheriff. The guy that played the main bad guy in this, the one for the owner of Needful Things, I don't know who he was, but he was fucking badass. And I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I mean, he's been in a bunch of movies.
He would have been a great Magneto.
He would have been a great Magneto. And it's funny because he would have been a great Magneto, and Ed Harris, younger, would have been a great Captain America. This movie was a theatrical release. It was a 2 hour and... it's actually 2 hours, exactly 2 hours.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I don't have another Stephen King miniseries that's 7 hours long.
And you know, I read the book Needful Things, a long-ass fucking book, but you know what? They made the sacrifices they need to make and made a great movie, I think. I think Needful Things was actually a really good movie. The soundtrack was okay. It had that a lot of that... like the opera kind of stuff, it was okay, but I mean, it was still a good, concise plot. It made sense, it got to the point, and it didn't have to go on and on about these details. Yes, they could have taken more time to explain the interrelationships between the residents of the town before he got there, why everybody was like pretty much got along, and then all of a sudden when this new guy moves in, everybody's just fucking hating each other. They could have done that, but it would have taken so much longer to explain all that stuff. And they just let's cut the fat and get to the beef.
The main thing is it's an easy ass movie to watch. A lot of
Yeah.
Stephen King stuff is so long and drawn out. There's so many details. This was just like quick to the point. And it draws you in. It's a comforting movie. There's not a whole. It's not a scary movie.
No.
There's nothing really scary in this movie that happens. I mean, there's a couple shots of like demonic shit or whatever that might pop out at you or whatever. But for the most part, this is not a scary movie at all. But it's a really easy movie to watch. As soon as you watch it, like the town situation, the characters in it, it's very well acted, and the actors draw you in immediately.
Yeah, and I think that there are a few scenes in this movie anyway for me that were really atmospheric. When I say atmospheric, I don't mean like creepy or anything like that, but they were just so intense.
Dreadful.
It's intense scenes, like the scene where Billy or whatever the little kid's name was getting ready to blow his fucking head off because he understood what Gaunt was, the Leland Gaunt, the owner of Needful Things, and Ed Harris has to stop him. That was an intense scene, and like the way they shot that scene, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but just the shadow part of when Ed Harris is walking up the steps talking to this kid trying to talk him down, it just looks so fucking awesome, especially when the kid was like, I gotta go to hell, and this, Ed Harris is like, you could just see all the emotion on his face and shit, and then again, maybe he was just thinking, you're a fucking psycho.
Yeah, well, that's just that, but Ed Harris was just over the top awesomeness. Like when those two, when Buster and the other guy were fighting, he goes up between them, like slams him up against the wall, and he's like, I'm tired of shit! Like Ed Harris, like he really chewed the scenery there, and so did Leland. This is one of those few movies, and it's underrated. I think it's really underrated.
It really is. I think
because the acting in this movie is great. It's one of the better acted Stephen King adaptations.
I think it was. I think it's more of an understated awesome movie. They don't have to go over the top because it's not psychological, but I guess you could say it. But it's like an action thriller. Anyway, an action thriller, I guess, is the best way to describe it, with a little supernatural element to it. Because there's just scenes in this movie, like you were talking about. He moves from Chicago, Ed Harris does, and he wants to go to a small town. All this shit starts happening, and he's trying to figure out why is everybody hating each other. And then you have scenes with Leland Gaunt and him are having like coffee and tea in his store, and just scenes like that, little tiny scenes that just are understated, but they're good. Like they're really, really good acted scenes, and they're just intense.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that cheesy. I mean, there are cheesy parts where the girl's like, I'm gonna skin your doggy, like shit like that. I mean, it could be cheesy, but you've also got that, there's always like a kid element in these movies, and the one kid like you were talking about, the one that wanted the Mickey Mantle card, like he's just, Leland's character is so damn creepy. Like everybody that walks in there, like you like him. I mean, he actually draws you in because he's so charismatic, but he's just so damn evil. And like when he does shit to Ed Harris's wife, like you just feel bad. That actually made me mad. Like I guess he had sex with her. They never really said it, but he was doing shit with her, and then she's just in the street, and she's like, he got us too, you know. And that part was just like, oh my god, that he really is an evil fucker.
He's a dirty old man. He tapped that ass. You know what? He's like, I'm gonna kiss you. And then she all of a sudden like goes to his cabin and finds all this money because he's like, oh, he's been embezzling from the town. You know, so he turned her against Ed Harris. And that was the thing. Ed Harris was such a straight arrow in this movie, and he didn't, like, when he walks in the store and he's like, what would you like? He's like, I've already got everything I need. You know, and then, you know, Leland Gaunt knew he's never going to be able to get to him.
I think there's an element of it that they don't really explain because I know that when everybody walks into a store, they see something that they want that they've always wanted. I don't think that that's quite enough to get people to do what they do. I think there's like like, you know, I mean, vampires can charm you, like that sort of thing. And I mean, he's technically like a demon, the devil, whatever you want to call it. They don't really ever say. But I think he also does something like he charms them in some sort of way to make them do whatever he wants because he has them do some shit. And that's the one thing. The people in town are just so stupid. Like, no one's... I mean, yeah, they really want this item that he has, but no one's just like, why do you want me to do that? No one ever asked that question. I think maybe that's part of it.
No, I will not make out with you. I get that, but I think that we'll just go ahead and say it because, I mean, it's been out for a while now.
Spoiler alert.
He's the devil.
Yeah.
Okay, he's the fucking devil. He's the devil incarnate. Okay, and I get... that what you're saying, that as far as like I don't understand why these people are so trusting and they do whatever he asks and they have this one thing and that they want it, but I think these people were so like back folk, you know, like country boys or country women, that they're so trusting and open to this guy they wouldn't think he'd take advantage of them, but they become so obsessed with this. I mean, it's literally whatever your heart's desire, like the one thing in the world that you would love to have ever. Like if you know, I want to have sex with Katy Perry, that's yours. You can have that moment. Yeah, I don't know how, but
I'm pretty sure if someone told me that, I would probably throw like, you know, mud on someone's sheets.
Yeah, and that's what he says, and you're right. He charms them to do it. I mean, but at the end of the movie, he says it was always your choice. He sets it for you. Maybe he tempts you, which he is the devil, so he tempts you. But the thing is, you had the choice to say no because Ed Harris proved it. He said, I have everything I need. But the thing is, he presents it in such a way. He's like, it's just a little prank. It's just nobody's gonna get hurt. You know, it's a little prank.
He's so damn charming. Like I wanted to go have a piece of pie with him, like Ed Harris did, in front of the fire. I just wanted to talk to him about life. You know, eat some pie.
I love the one thing I always loved it. He was like, when I think Danforth watched, he's like, oh Jesus, he was like, the young carpenter from Nazareth? I knew him well. Promising young lad. He died badly. I was like, holy shit.
Well, they even take like the two, it's very interesting. Like, they don't really focus on it maybe enough, but it's really interesting they actually take the Catholic guy and the Baptist guy and have them going after him.
Yeah, in the book,
even gets to them.
In the book, that was actually a really big scene because, you know, they always had this strife amongst them, but the devil comes in, he really plays on that, and he gets, I mean, when you finally see, I don't know if they really, I don't know if they should maybe held their cards closer to their chest, because they kind of revealed what he was pretty quickly. I mean, you know, you obviously knew this guy was fucking supernatural, but then they kind of let it out of the bag pretty quick that he was not just a ghost or something. Yeah. He was fucking demon or something. And then you're like, oh, the devil.
I think the only time that the cheesiness comes out in this movie, maybe that's why some people don't like it, is the very end of it when he gets what's the bad guy's name?
Leland Gaunt.
He gets Buster.
Buster.
He gets Buster to kill his wife or whatever, and then he tackles him through that thing. He's like, "Don't call me Buster!" And he tackles him through the thing. The house explodes or whatever. And it's like, I mean, that was kind of cheesy how they finished everything off with. But for the most part, the movie it's just got some really cool ideas in it, and it's a really interesting take on things. But it's fun to see him like toy with this. He's so manipulative. It's fun to see him toy with people and what's going to happen between this person and that person. I think maybe people wanted a bigger like deal at the end rather than just the riot.
They should have hired Leland Gaunt for Nike. It's like, do you want this shoe?
Just do it.
You know, I think there's though.
Air Jordans.
You want some Air Jordans? Yeah. Oh, a Mickey Ballacard. That's what you want. Okay, you fucker. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they could have done a little bit more with it. And they could have developed it a little bit more as far as like the Gaunt character and the relationship that he has with Ed Harrison, like this big epic showdown that we're gonna have. And they do kind of seal it up pretty quick at the end. Like they're like, okay, we gotta have this really quick end, because the thing is in the book there's a huge ending in the book, and I think they could have maybe taken a little bit extra time and somehow condensed that into the book, because I mean there's this big showdown between Harris and Leland Gaunt, and Leland Gaunt actually comes out of his human shell and becomes this demonic winged creature in the middle of the street, and they start having this big fucking showdown. That was badass in the book, but you know they were like, you know, we got to keep this 2 hours, we're gonna keep, and that's fine, but it kind of like wraps it up too quick.
Yeah, and I also think you want to talk about Under the Dome, how you got the whole town and they're dealing with the situation under the dome. This would have made an amazing TV show.
Yep.
I still think that
with
they
the
should make a
actors,
TV show.
with the right.
Yeah,
with the
if
actors.
you get people invested in the town, and then you got all these strikes going on with people in the town, there's so many subplots that you could make a series go on and on and on and on.
I would have loved to have Ed Harris. I mean, because I've never seen him in a TV show as the sheriff of this town.
Oh my God.
And then he died, but I mean, J.T. Walsh was always a great bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, so that would have been an epic cast and an epic TV series. You're right. That would have been a great TV
What
series.
about you, Jay? What was your needful thing?
Don't you say what he's done to us? I love that scene.
Yeah.
The thing that he was so good, and some people are gonna say he was corny because he was just yelling and stuff like that.
I liked it, though.
I love that scene. And then when he walks out, he was like, "I'll meet your grandson, August 4th, 2053. We'll make headlines."
And then they have to just let him walk away because, like, the dude was just in this whole house that exploded.
Yeah.
You have to just let him walk away because you know you can't kill him.
Yeah.
So they have to just let him go on to do his business. And there's like an eerie, creepy feeling to that. And it's like this is never.
But I
Gonna
mean, but when you watch this movie, as far as I'm concerned, and when you sit through it and you're done with it, you're never gonna really walk away being freaked out or scared or anything like that. You're just gonna be like, I think for me anyway, I was like, that was a solid movie.
It was an interesting,
Yeah.
really interesting, like easy to watch movie. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I'm gonna give it 7.5 too. I almost made it to an 8 because I mean, and it didn't get a really high score in Stephen King list. I mean, IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. But it's actually, like I said, it's underrated. It's understated. It's one of those movies that you'll watch it, you'll feel good about watching it, you'll feel good about Halloween and all that kind of stuff like going on. It doesn't have to be automatically creepy as fuck. They could have made creepy scenes in it. I'm not saying that they couldn't have done that, but
Yeah.
still, it's pretty solid. It's solid overall. Solid acting, solid score, solid cinematography, solid photograph.
And it's an example of what can be done if you just kind of condense
It really-
some of Stephen King's material down and just make just a good movie out of it. It doesn't have to have everything. It doesn't have to pick apart everything. Just a solid little movie.
What makes you actually think too is like, what would good people that are internally good, how far would they go to get what they want? Like,
Oh, yeah.
the most needful thing that you could possibly think of, like whatever you wanted, how far would you go?
I think this deserves an updated version.
Oh, I would love it.
If you want to talk about remakes, this should be remade.
Like it, like I think they both should be
Oh, yeah,
remade.
definitely.
Except
So-
I don't know, Tim Curry's badass. I don't know who you can get for the clown.
That's a good point. Well, I mean, how about this though? So the question of the day: what is your favorite Ed Harris movie of all time?
The Rock.
The Rock?
I love him in
I
The
think
Rock.
this would be my favorite performance by him. I know that seems insane, but he's just so fun. Like when he loses his shit on people, he's just like a normal, like I'm a good old boy, like kind of share it, and then he loses his shit. He's kind of crazy at the same time. He's got this little tick. I really like it. I would
think
like to
he's
see
badass.
more from it, but I really loved his performance in this. So that's our review of Needful Things, guys. It's Halloween Horror Month early here. We're gonna go all the way through freaking October. Stay tuned. We're gonna have another Stephen King movie tomorrow. It's Stephen King week. Fuck yeah! And tomorrow's Rose Red. So we'll see you guys next time on.
Fucking dumb.
We watched a movie. Yeah. We watched a movie.